My life is a lie, and I'm not sure I want the truth. The flickering fluorescent lights of my office seemed to hum a different tune today, a low, guttural drone that vibrated through my skull. It wasn't the lights, of course. It was the creeping dread that had taken root in my mind, a weed choking the life out of my already monotonous existence. I was an accountant. Ethan Blake, 32, married to Sarah, lived in Havenwood, a town so picture-perfect it felt like a movie set. Our house, a Victorian with peeling paint and a history I was now desperately trying to ignore, was the biggest purchase of our lives. It was supposed to be a dream. Now it was a nightmare. It started subtly a few weeks ago. A fleeting image gone before I could register it properly, a sterile white room, glinting surgical instruments, a masked figure looming over a prone form. I dismissed it as stress, too much coffee, not enough sleep. Then came the whispers. Faint, unintelligible murmurs that seemed to emanate from the walls of the house, especially at night. Last night was the worst. I woke up drenched in sweat, a scream caught in my throat. The image was vivid now, horrifyingly so. The surgical instruments were being used, the prone form was human, and the masked figure, it was smiling. Above it all, a voice, cold and sharp, hissed my name. "Ethan, you okay, Ethan? You look like you've seen a ghost," David, my coworker, clapped me on the back, pulling me from my reverie. "Yeah, fine. Just a headache," I mumbled, turning back to my spreadsheets. The numbers blurred before my eyes, meaningless symbols in a world that suddenly felt profoundly wrong. That afternoon, I made an appointment with Dr. Amelia Reed. Her office was in an old brick building downtown, the waiting room filled with the quiet anxieties of Havenwood residents. A nervous twitching here, a forced smile there. I felt like an imposter, surrounded by their mundane worries. Mine felt like a cosmic horror. Dr. Reed was professional, her questions probing and insightful. I told her about the visions, the whispers, the sleepless nights. She listened patiently, her expression unreadable. "It sounds like you're experiencing significant anxiety, Ethan. Perhaps some sleep disturbances as well. I'd like to prescribe a mild anti-anxiety medication and see if that helps," she said, writing something on her pad. I took the prescription, but I knew it wouldn't work. This wasn't just anxiety. This was something else, something deeper, something wrong. That night I couldn't sleep. Sarah, bless her heart, tried to comfort me, holding me close as I tossed and turned. "It's just stress, honey. You've been working too hard," she whispered, stroking my hair. "It's not stress, Sarah. I don't know what it is, but it's in the house." "I can feel it," I said, my voice barely a whisper. She sighed, a sound heavy with concern. "Maybe we should talk about selling the house, Ethan. If it's making you this unhappy," the thought of selling the house, of leaving Havenwood, sent a jolt of panic through me. It was irrational, I knew, but I couldn't shake the feeling that running away wouldn't solve anything. Whatever was happening to me, it was more than just the house. It was me. The next day, I started researching the history of our house. The Havenwood Historical Society was a dusty, forgotten corner of the town hall, filled with old maps, faded photographs, and the musty smell of forgotten stories. Mrs. Henderson, the elderly woman who ran the society, was initially hesitant to help. "Not many folks interested in the history of the old Thorne place," she said, peering at me over her spectacles. "Bad luck house, that is. Thorne," that name sent a shiver down my spine. "Elias Thorne?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. "That's right. Dr. Elias Thorne. Lived there back in the 40s, 50s, strange fella, kept to himself. Folks said he was doing experiments. The word echoed in my mind, resonating with the images that haunted my dreams. Mrs. Henderson pulled out a file, its cover yellowed with age. Disappearances, they called them. Young men mostly, vanished without a trace, never solved. I spent hours poring over the documents, my heart pounding in my chest. Newspaper clippings, police reports, handwritten notes. The more I read, the more I felt like I was falling down a rabbit hole, a dark and twisted descent into madness. That night, the voice was louder, clearer. It spoke my name with a chilling familiarity. "Ethan, come home. Ethan, you belong here." I stumbled out of bed, drawn towards the basement. Sarah stirred, groaning softly. "Ethan, what are you doing?" she mumbled. "Go back to sleep, honey." "I just need some air," I said, my voice strained. The basement was cold and damp, the air thick with the smell of mildew and decay. The single bare bulb hanging from the ceiling cast long, distorted shadows, turning the familiar space into a grotesque landscape. I ran my hand along the cold, damp walls, searching for something, anything that could explain what was happening to me. And then I found it. A section of the wall that felt slightly different, a faint outline hidden beneath layers of paint. I pushed against it, and with a groan of protesting wood, a section of the wall swung inward, revealing a hidden room. The room was small, windowless, and filled with a horrifying array of medical equipment. Gleaming surgical instruments, glass jars filled with unidentifiable fluids, a rusted operating table. The air was thick with the metallic tang of blood and the cloying sweetness of formaldehyde. On a table in the corner, I found a stack of journals, their pages filled with meticulous handwriting and disturbing diagrams. They were Thorne's journals detailing his experiments. As I read, the world around me began to blur. The words on the page seemed to leap out at me, forming images in my mind: grotesque surgeries, twisted bodies, screams of agony. Thorne was obsessed with creating perfect humans, with unlocking the secrets of the human genome. He was a monster, and then I saw it. A diagram, a schematic of the human brain with a series of complex modifications highlighted. The diagram was labeled Subject EB, my initials. I stumbled back, my head reeling. The voice was laughing now, a high-pitched, manic cackle that echoed in the confines of the hidden room. "You see, Ethan, you're one of us. You were always one of us." I slammed the journals shut, desperate to shut out the truth. I had to get out of here. I had to get away. I ran back upstairs. Sarah was sitting up in bed, her face etched with worry. "Ethan, what's going on? You're scaring me," she said, her voice trembling. I can't explain it, Sarah. You wouldn't believe me," I said, my voice hoarse. "Try me," she pleaded. I hesitated, then poured out everything. The visions, the whispers, the hidden room, the journals, Thorne's experiments, the diagram with my initials. Sarah listened in silence, her expression shifting from concern to disbelief to fear. "Ethan, you need help. This isn't real." "This is a delusion," she said, her voice barely a whisper. "It's real, Sarah. It's all real. And I think I'm one of his experiments," I said, the words hanging in the air like a death sentence. Sarah shook her head, tears streaming down her face. "No, Ethan, no, that's not true. I know you. I love you. You're not some experiment." "Then explain this," I said, pulling up my sleeve and pointing to a faint scar on my arm, a scar I'd had since I was a child, a scar I'd never been able to explain. Sarah stared at the scar, her face paling. I don't know," she stammered. "Neither do I said, "but I'm going to find out." The next morning, I went to the police station. Detective Mark Olson was a weary, seen-it-all cop, his face lined with years of dealing with the dark underbelly of Havenwood. I told him everything, just as I had told Sarah. Olson listened patiently, his expression betraying nothing. When I was finished, he leaned back in his chair and sighed. "Mr. Blake, I understand you're going through a lot, but what you're telling me is difficult to believe. A secret room, medical experiments, genetically engineered humans. It sounds like something out of a science fiction movie. I know it sounds crazy, but it's true. I have proof. The journals, the equipment, the hidden room," I pleaded. "We'll take a look at your house, Mr. Blake. But I have to be honest with you, we're also looking into the cold cases from the 40s and 50s. The disappearances. And Elias Thorne's name keeps coming up," Olson said, his eyes narrowing. "We need you to be completely honest with us, Mr. Blake. Were you aware of these disappearances before today?" "No," I said quickly, perhaps too quickly. "I swear I had no idea." "We'll see," Olson said, his voice flat. That afternoon, Olson and his partner, Detective Miller, searched my house. They found the hidden room, the equipment, the journals. They took everything into evidence. As they were leaving, Olson turned to me. "Mr. Blake, I advise you to stay in town. We may need to ask you more questions." I knew I was a suspect. I was the prime suspect, and I couldn't blame them. I sounded like a madman. That night, the voice was relentless, a constant barrage of whispers and taunts. It told me things I didn't want to hear, things that confirmed my worst fears. "You're not Ethan Blake, the accountant. You're Subject EB, a masterpiece of genetic engineering. You were created for a purpose, a grand purpose, and it's time for you to fulfill it." I tried to resist, to shut out the voice, but it was too strong. It was inside my head, a part of me. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't eat. I was losing my mind. I went back to the Historical Society. I needed to know everything about Thorne, about his experiments, about the disappearances. Mrs. Henderson looked at me with pity. "You're not looking well, Mr. Blake. This obsession with the Thorne house, it's not healthy." "I need to know the truth," I said, my voice desperate. "Please help me." Mrs. Henderson sighed and pulled out another file. "This is all we have on the disappearances, mostly rumors and speculation. But there's one thing, a recurring detail. People said Thorne was seen taking his patients to a facility outside of town, an old abandoned mine. A mine. Voice whispered in my ear, the birthplace of perfection. I knew where I had to go. I drove out to the abandoned mine, a desolate and forgotten place on the outskirts of Havenwood. The entrance was sealed off with a rusted gate, but it was easy enough to climb over. The mine was dark and damp, the air thick with the smell of decay and something else, something metallic and sterile. I followed the winding tunnels, my flashlight beam cutting through the darkness, and then I found it. A hidden entrance, concealed behind a false wall. I pushed it open and stepped inside. It was a laboratory more advanced than the one in my basement. Gleaming equipment, rows of computers, tanks filled with strange liquids, and in the center of the room a figure standing in the shadows. "Welcome home, Ethan," the figure said, his voice cold and familiar. It was him, Elias Thorne, or at least a version of him. Younger, stronger, more perfect. "I created you, Ethan, you and others. We are the future of humanity," Thorne said, stepping into the light. "You're insane," I said, my voice trembling. "Insane or visionary? I gave you life, Ethan. I gave you purpose, and now it's time for you to embrace it." Thorne gestured towards a series of tanks. Inside, I saw them, the other perfect humans, genetically engineered beings designed for specific tasks, devoid of emotion, devoid of humanity. And then I saw her. Sarah. She was suspended in a tank. Her eyes closed, her body connected to a series of tubes and wires. "What have you done to her?" I screamed, lunging towards Thorne. He sidestepped me easily, his movements fluid and precise. "She's being enhanced. She'll be perfect, Ethan, just like you." "No," I said, my voice filled with rage. "I'm not like you. I'm not one of your creations." I attacked him, but he was too strong. He overpowered me easily, pinning me to the ground. "You can't fight it, Ethan. It's in your blood. You're one of us." He injected me with something, a clear liquid that burned through my veins. The world around me began to spin. "Embrace your destiny, Ethan. Become who you were meant to be." The voice was triumphant now, filling my mind, drowning out my own thoughts. I closed my eyes and let the darkness consume me. I don't know how long I was unconscious. When I woke up, I was different. I felt stronger, sharper, more efficient. The voice was gone, replaced by a cold, calculating logic. Thorne was standing over me, smiling. "Welcome, Ethan. Welcome to the future." I looked around the lab at the equipment, at the other perfect humans, at Sarah suspended in her tank. And then I made a choice. I don't know if it was the right choice. I don't know if it was the only choice. But it was the choice I made. I destroyed the lab. I destroyed the equipment. I destroyed the tanks. I destroyed everything, including myself. Or did I? I woke up in a hospital bed, my body bruised and battered, my mind a swirling vortex of memories and hallucinations. Sarah was there, holding my hand, her eyes filled with tears. "You're awake," she whispered. "Thank God you're awake. What happened?" I asked, my voice hoarse. "The police found you. They said there was an explosion at the old mine. They said you were responsible." "Was Thorne there?" I asked. Sarah shook her head. "They didn't find anyone else. Just you." I looked at her, at her tear-stained face, at her hand holding mine. Was she really Sarah? Or was she a genetically engineered replica programmed to believe she was my wife? I didn't know. I couldn't trust anything anymore. The police took me into custody. They charged me with arson, with destruction of property, with attempted murder. They said I was insane. Maybe they were right. I'm in a mental institution now, surrounded by padded walls and the hushed voices of doctors and nurses. They say I'm delusional, paranoid, schizophrenic. They say I need help, but I know the truth. The experiments are still happening. Thorne is still out there, and I'm not safe. I can still hear the voice sometimes, faint whispers in the dark. "Ethan, we're not finished yet. I don't know what the future holds. I don't know if I'll ever be free. I don't even know who I am anymore. All I know is that my life is a lie, and I'm not sure I want the truth. I see Sarah sometimes. She visits me, brings me flowers, tells me she loves me. But I can see the fear in her eyes. She doesn't know me anymore, and I don't know her. I look at my hands, at the scars on my arms, at the reflection in the window. Who am I? What am I? I don't know, and maybe I never will."